Hi, it's Graham Wilson here and welcome to day 14, our final day of my 14-day personal leadership challenge. It's been a pleasure serving you and sharing my ideas and thoughts. And on this final video, I want to share with you how do you deliver at pace? How do you actually make projects and change happen in your organizations? You know, when I look back at project management, and I was quite fortunate really, I didn't realize at the time, but I started to learn around projects really in the military. I didn't realize at the time, of course, and they were called different things. They were called things like wars and skirmishes and battles, things like that. But fundamentally, they're about getting stuff done, and it's about how we plan them, how we prepare for them, how we set ourselves up, and how we execute it under tough conditions. And for me, project management is really about that. And I think in organizations, I was really surprised that when I left the military and started working in the corporate world, around how project management was seen to be this dark art or this world of project managers in IT and construction and engineering and strange things they do like Gantt charts, and they talk about critical paths and PIDs and all sorts of strange language and work breakdown structures and all sorts of weird and wonderful things, and it's like a different language to normality. And when I realized, of course, I started to run engineering projects and organizational projects and change projects, I realized actually that they're talking about getting stuff done. So I want to demystify projects really and talk about what I think projects actually are and share with you a framework that we've created called ChangePro. Over the last 20 years, we've been asked by many organizations to work with them, to help them to really simplify what they do and start to deliver project and change at a faster pace in an easier way. And lots of organizations get very confused, they get very burdened, they get very complex situation in place where there's so many different ways of running projects around the organization. It all gets very messy. And I had one organization that said it's like walking through treacle trying to get things done. And obviously in today's world, we need to operate with pace. We need to get things done quickly. We can't have this bureaucratic nightmare in place that slows things down. So I remember going to do this project and this guy saying, well, you can't deliver a project, you're not Prince 2 trained. And I said, what's Prince? And they said, oh, it's this new methodology that we're talking about. You've got to go on a course. So I remember going on this practitioner course and thinking, oh my word, this is like really complicated and it's like so many different words and different jargon, and actually it's very simple. And the course was actually brilliant, and I've been using Prince 2 many times, but also I've been using other methodologies as well. So we've been using Agile, we've been using human-centered design or user-centered design, using waterfall techniques. And I think that's the art really, is to understand that projects don't happen in isolation, and projects are really situational. And what you need is organizational capability. So the work we've been able to do with organizations is to help them to demystify it, make it simple, and give them a framework, a consistent framework that allows you to use these different methodologies to be able to get some really great outcomes really quickly. So we've worked with the likes of Asda and created their project management framework. We've worked with B&Q, and B&Q were fantastic with the way they implemented it, and they actually won Project Management Company of the Year, which was fantastic and great accolade for the work we did. But the key to it is this, that projects don't really work in isolation. You have to link projects with change management or change leadership. And the way I look at that really is that the technical solution is the project management element. So the element where you're getting people together to actually build a solution for whatever it actually is you need to get outcome. And the change management is actually getting the business to actually want the new solution. And I think that's really important to think about it. And all the work and all the success we've had is when we start to combine projects and change together and start to get different people working together. So you've got the technical guys working on the solution, you've got the people working on the change management and the organizational stuff, and actually not talking to each other. When you combine it, then it works really well. And all the work we've done with different organizations around that, with O2 and organizations like that, where when we've done that, it's really worked, and they've speeded up and had great success. And that's really where ChangePro came from. This concept of, when you think about the framework, how do we keep it simple? I always think if you can't deliver a project on a page, then it's too complicated. So we created a one-page framework, and it's a guide, it's a framework to take you through stages, but allows you to actually pick and choose what methodology you think is right. Do we use waterfall? Do we use Prince 2? Do we use traditional project management? Do we use human-centered design? Do we use Agile? And I think that's where the art form comes in, about selecting the right methodology to deliver what you need to deliver. And often when we go through a framework, I'll show you in a minute what that framework is, people realize actually that even though they might have a title of project manager, they're not really a project manager, they're a deliverer of a plan that someone else has created. And actually they're just doing part of the process. So we like to look at end to end in terms of how you set up the project success and actually, is it really desirable? Is it feasible and is it viable? Should we be doing the project? Getting a team together, getting a team to then plan the project and craft the approach and then deliver it in the methodology that is right. And some big projects, for example, or programs can actually run through different methodologies through the life cycle because it's not a straight linear process. It's more of a journey, isn't it? And of course, then linking that with some of the different change methodologies like the ProSize ADCAR model. It might be AIM or it might be Kotter's process. Any change process has to link together with the project management. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I draw on a graph, it probably makes sense for you in terms of if I look at this aspect down here, which is the technical, what I call a technical solution. So that might be a new process, it might be a new way of doing things, it might be a new piece of equipment, it might be whatever the solution is. And I call that the project management piece, okay? And that's the cycle we're going to go on to deliver the technical solution. So somewhere around here, we'll have a new solution to whatever it is. This down here is what we call getting the business to buy into it. So it's the buy-in to the solution. And this is what I call the change leadership stuff. So you can be really effective at project management and be qualified up to your ears in all sorts of different methodologies and techniques and drive the project through. And how many projects you knew where they go live and no one really wants them, or even worse, where the project's been set a deadline and the board have been given that deadline, so it's got to go live on that date, and the project gets squeezed and run a little bit late, and all the training and all the development stuff starts to get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, but it's still got to go live on that Monday. So it goes live on Monday, people aren't ready, and then it starts to fail. So we can go through all these steps, can't we, whatever methodology we're using, and get to the point where we launch it here and it actually fails. So we've gone through this process here, and then what happens is we then start managing resistance. And a lot of people see the change leadership as managing resistance to this change. So it actually fails. And likewise, if we're really good at change leadership, we can fail as well because we haven't delivered any new ways of doing it. So what we're saying really with ChangePro is you've got to do both to get success. And what's really interesting about that is when you link them together on the same page, it makes sense. Now that's where ChangePro came from, because I believe you start with change. Whatever you're doing in terms of your projects, then you have to get the business to want that change early on. So what are you doing to actually sell the idea, to engage the business, to get them talking about it, to understand the need of it, understand what will happen if you don't do it, and really get them wanting to support you and help you to actually accept that when the solution arrives, that they're helping you and wanting it and are willing to actually embed it. And that's how you actually make change happen. So let's have a look at what the framework looks like. So projects and change really are a journey, aren't they? They're never linear, they're never step by step, and there's lots of twists and turns along the journey as we go through. And as you can see on here, it's a very simple process, and really any project or any piece of change, what we're doing is we're asking what I call 6 questions. So the first stage really about understanding is, let's stop before we leap into actually doing something and say, is this change really desirable? Is there a case for change? Does it fit to our priorities? Does it help us to achieve our purpose? Does it align to our values? Anything else going on in the business that we need to be aware of at the same time? All that sort of stuff is really important to actually check and make sure that the project or the change you're trying to do is really desirable. If that's okay and you've created a project brief and it's been okay and you're happy with it, done the presentations, you've got the business on board, and the allocation of resources are there, you can then move into the next stage, which is really what I call the scoping stage, which is really asking the question around, is the change desirable, is it feasible, and is it viable? So those 3 things, which are taken from human-centered design techniques and design thinking, is really about checking the feasibility, checking the viability, and checking where it's desirable. It's desirable, it fits to what we're trying to achieve. It's desirable for our customers going forward. The feasible bit is about we've got the time, we've got the resources, we've got the technology, we've got the expertise to actually make it happen. And the viable is, the business case stacks up. So we're either going to save money, make money, or it's going to add value, and it's actually worth actually doing it, and there's some key benefits for it. Once we've done that and we develop the scope, of course, we can move into what I call the start of the project, really, which is around creating the team. So you've got a project manager, you've got a team on board, you spend some time getting to know each other, you build a trust, you build your team canvas, you start to have a look at the journey so far and why we're doing this project, what's it all about, look at the desirability, look at the feasibility, look at the viability, so people buy into it. And then once the team's in place, you then start to then craft the approach. And this is where you start to pull in the stakeholders and start to really get the right people in the right room at the right time in order to start to put an approach and a plan together. And this is where we combine the project management technical solution and the change management piece. So how are we going to get the business to want this solution? What are we going to do to get people on board? Who are the stakeholders? How do we get them on board? Where the power? What's going on? What's the politics around this? What's the project methodology we're going to use? All those sort of key things. And you actually build a project plan and agree the project approach. Once we've done that and we've understood that, then we start to get into what we call the delivery phase. Now that depends on the methodology we're using. If it's traditional Prince 2, then we'll go through the stages of that methodology. If it's design thinking, again, we'll use the methodology. So if it's design thinking, we're probably going to go and get some insights and find out, has anyone solved it before? We're going to do some observations. We're going to have a look at customers, talk to customers, what's going on. We're going to do some innovation, some creativity, generate ideas and thoughts. We're going to do some trials. We're going to do some scenarios. We're going to build things. We're going to test things out. We're all going to do in parallel. We're going to get together and eventually we'll start to come up with what we think the solution is going forward. So again, a different approach. And again, with waterfall, you'd use a traditional waterfall approach. Agile, of course, that would be a step-by-step approach, wouldn't it? We're just doing as far as we can see. So in a foggy situation, then we can do that. Now, the next thing, of course, is we're then delivering it. We're making sure we're on board. We've got the business ready. We've got them excited about it. All the change management stuff's going on, the communication, the education, the training, development, the solutions being built. And early on in the project, we're really focusing on the change stuff, making that really visible, and then the solutions happening in the background. And then towards the end of it, the solution comes out and we're more focused on getting the solution in. So the final stage is about embedding, and that's about how we make the new normal. It's about embed what's been delivered, how we measure the benefits to make sure that they're actually adding value and making a difference, that actually the benefits are realized. And it's been a great return on investment. And of course, we're then pulling together all the lessons we've learned along the project life cycle and making sure that they are shared across the organization so that next time we do a project, we can go again and learn from that and make sure we do it even more effective next time. And remember that projects and change are for all of us. If I'm wanting to build my team, then that's a project. If I want to improve my life, then I can use the project methodology to actually help me and guide me through that. Remember, it's a guide. Remember, you have to be aware of what's going on. And remember, you have to adjust and learn and go and make sure it is a process that you're adapting based on the context and the situation you're in. So I hope you found it useful. There's loads of resources online. Check out changepro.co.uk. There's loads of resources and free stuff on there you can have a look at as well. That's been our final video in this challenge. I mean, there's loads of topics that we teach that I haven't even touched on in the 14 days. So things like coaching, for example, action learning, and there's many other topics that we haven't looked at, influencing and negotiation, all sorts of stuff that we can share with you. And what I'm going to be doing in the coming weeks, based on obviously we're still in lockdown here at the moment in the UK, I'm going to be sharing some insights. We're going to go live as well. We're doing some live workshops and we're going to share our ideas and thoughts and just keep that journey going, keep the momentum going, and make sure that we are using this opportunity, this time to be able to think and reflect and use it wisely to start to reflect and then go again and learn some new stuff and think about how you can improve what you're doing. So when we are allowed to start to get back to normality, then we're ready, we've got some new ideas, new thoughts, we're energized, and we can go out there and make a real difference. So it's been a real pleasure running this challenge. Hope you really enjoyed it. Obviously we got to video 14. Thank you for that, and love to hear from you. So let me know what you think about the videos. I'm always open for ideas and thoughts. There's perhaps a topic that I haven't shared with you. Let us know about that. And let's keep this journey going. It's been a pleasure. Bye for now.